The average person, they just go on the internet and look for how to fix your butt or some kind of internet. They Google something, pain back, and they recommend do this exercise or do squats to a bigger butt. What if your muscles are not working properly? In my case, I know for a fact that my abductors here is contracted. My hamstring is contracted. With these two muscle contractions, my pelvis tends to move forward and rotate forward, kind of like this, because we're sitting on the TV all the time, we're kind of lounging and everything. So this pelvis tends to be like this. This muscle's contracted, this muscle's contracted, which causes my glute, my butt muscle, to be very inactive or on a small butt. We call it dead butt or gluteal amnesia. When I do a squat, what happens? Instead of my butt contributing like 30%, most of the muscle that is being used is my quads, the front of my legs. And that is a combination of my back. So this muscle is throwing up all the force, using all this muscle instead of some here and some on my butt muscle, which is working out. So right now, I don't feel it in my butt. I don't. It's an active muscles, and if I do any squats, my back is throwing up half of it, and this muscle, this quad muscle, is doing all the exercise. Even if I do the motion correctly, or I find somebody telling me it looks like I'm doing the motion correctly, like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do this. This muscle, since it's inactive, and this pelvis is all out of plane, it might look correct, but this muscle is not throwing its portion of the weight. And with the butt muscle, it's supposed to be the biggest and strongest muscle in the body. But in that case, it's not doing any of the work, none, zilch. In the past, I've tried to okay, let's squeeze my butt and walk around with a butt squeeze. Butt squeeze when you're walking around, and to make it activate. Walking around like a duck, or I don't know. I've tried these exercises and none of them worked. Why? Because my pelvis is so contracted, so rotated forward, and these muscles are so contracted, there is no way that my glute muscle is so elongated that it has no chance to work, or it's in such a position that it can't do its work, or it's so elongated that it won't be able to work and contract. It's in a state of permanent elongation. So my butt is like dead, dormant, and not doing any of the work. First, you have to go in the sequence. You have to, like I said, always said, the optimal path. Let's get your bones, your spinal column fixed, and maybe your feet with a chiropractor. Now let's start working with finding the contracted muscles. Okay, after the bones, contracted muscles, you break up the contracted muscles. In my case, it would be here and here, my hamstrings and my abductors, and maybe a little bit up here. After that, then we start activating the glute muscle. By touching your butt and then finding a position where you're able to actually use the muscle to work, make the muscle work while it's squeezing it. It's not just, okay, let's lift the leg like this. You're trying to focus your mind on that muscle and then finding the right angle, because sometimes the pelvis is you can't have the rational 95-degree angle back or squat in the 90-degree angle straight up and down. Because our pelvis is so out of whack, you have to maybe like overcome, you have to maybe over angle it, you know, sometimes instead of like, you know, squat, instead of moving, throwing a kick back straight back, it might be at a different outside angle like this to make that muscle work. So those are the logic, and this is just the first step. You have to get rid of the dysfunction first. In our case, it's our posterior pelvic tilt, our kyphosis, our rounded shoulder, and our head forward posture. And some people don't even realize they have these dysfunctions. You have to realize these are the dysfunctions that you're working with, and we fix those dysfunctions first. And if you try to do any kind of exercises with these weird dysfunction in a crooked body like this, you'll just, you know, reinforce that bad posture, as I said, or you actually might even hurt yourself by doing a motion that you're not supposed to, and making muscles that are already strong too strong, and throwing the other muscles around, and you're gonna hurt your back. Lower back, very common thing is lower back is gonna go shot, you know, and probably neck area. Those are very common. This is what the actions of doing exercises when your body is all crooked like this is. You're probably gonna hurt your neck and lower back. Very common, very, very common. Maybe your shoulder.